Good morning. It is May 11th, and going to try and answer questions that have come in from different people, members that are growing trees. Quite a lot of questions have come in, and it's time to think about fully hardening off seedlings and getting them transplanted. So half of what I have indoors. I'm going to show you where I put the other ones outside. Looking out, there is the little chapter nursery. We dug 30 trees out of it last weekend that were brought down to the Southeast Land Trust land for a trial GCO. Out back you can see some more chestnuts growing. So here are the outside ones. So I got them out this morning. You can see the wind is keeping the leaves moving, and I'll bring the rest of them out and just try and figure how long they should be out here. I don't think they should be out here all day for 8 or 10 hours of sun, but it's cool. If it gets a little bit cloudy, then you can keep. Hey, there's a little one. Hey, roof chicken. Sometimes they want to go over and eat the leaves too. A lot of variables. If I leave them out all day and I'm gone and a squirrel comes and decides to start digging out the nuts, there's obviously a problem. I have not, knock on wood, had trouble with that myself, but that gentle moving of the leaves is good. If you look at the weather report and it's going to be in the high 50s, 60s at night, you could leave them out all night. More likely to have a critter come at night. So I'll bring them in, and then we'll put on the next video and try and tie them together. Okay, so here is a small germplasm conservation orchard on my own land. It's kind of a little private one, not the big chapter one, which is 3 blocks away, but this is kind of where when you get too many trees, you got to find places to put them. So there's a big variety, and I'm going to show you transplanting 2 saplings that we dug up yesterday. There's a big variety of techniques here, kind of experimenting. This one right here would be, I really like using a ground cloth. Now that's impermeable plastic, white side up, can be black side up. I personally don't like it as much, I don't think, because it doesn't let the water through. This one here, next door to it, has got this kind of fiberish, water permeable landscaping fabric. Pretty cheap. You can buy a roll of it 3 feet wide. You cut off 3 feet long, cut a hole in the center. I think it works great. That's a nice tree just starting to leaf out. And this here is, make sure you keep them all tagged. So this one is Pritt Speedwell ESF 2018. Guess I could figure that out. Here's one right next to it. It's got some pretty good sized leaves coming out. You never know. They don't perform together, but that's a nice straight looking, hopefully healthy, 2-year-old plant. Here's one that has even more leaves coming out, and that is the permeable landscape fabric that I really like. Our chickens do scrape off the bark chips, wood chips that I put, but they're easy to replace. So here are the 2 trees we dug up yesterday down in southern New Hampshire. A really cool place with what I feel very strongly are pure American trees, and the owner is kind enough to let us dig them up. We got about a dozen of them. There's one that we stuck in burlap. Here's one we stuck in. It's a great technique. You just dig it up, set it on the burlap, let it sink into the 5-gallon pot, and then you can lift it out. So I'm going to do that right now while my wife holds the camera. Here we have a tree that didn't make it through the winter, and I'm not sure whether that was a vole or something, or I kind of suspect it was a weak spot where the nut germinated. This was actually a nice one, hospice, Merrimack, New Hampshire, hospice north. So Kurt, our vice president, had harvested that nut. This one didn't make it, but we have a lot of replications here. This was right here, covered with chips. I pulled this out, and I like the fact that the roots are kind of still attached to it. It's pretty permeable. Dug the hole, I'm gonna untie the burlap. Nice day to be transplanting. It's cool, it's cloudy. They have not leaked out much, so they're probably won't have wilted themselves too much. So here you got a really nice, and this shows what chestnut's like. This is real forest stuff. This is a gorgeous forest. Look at that duff. That's that soft soft soil that we're trying to duplicate, and it's chestnuts don't really want to be where we stick them. They want to be out in the forest. So I'm going to lift this thing right in. There's that taproot hanging down. Good luck, buddy. Gonna set that down so it feels good. Cover it up. Give it a good little pack to get the air pockets out. Leave a little depression, because having transplanted it, I'm going to want to be watering it. Always bring your soil down to the lower portion. We don't need it up above. Make a dam down here. It holds pretty good water throughout the season. Now I take this, see if I can put this back on without hurting it too much. Get this right over the plant. Right there. And here's this little guy here. Get that one up. Okay. And I will come back, hold it down in case the wind blows. I'll come down, put a good layer of wood chips on that. It'll keep it moist, cool, easy to water. My guess is that this is not going to like what it's been through, and I'll find that it sends up a nice vigorous shoot here during this summer. That's what usually happens. But I think there's enough living material in there. Perfect time to transplant before they've really leafed out. This one here, if we go to the next guy that didn't make it through the winter, don't even know where it went. Same thing. Actually, we don't need to show it, but I'm just going to pull the wood chips back, dig enough of a hole, get it in, pack it, probably put landscaping cloth, but they do fine without it, and that's that. Okay. Before I put this one in the ground, I just dug the hole, undid the burlap, and look at the size of the root that this is growing off. So my strong suspicion is that these trees were growing off the roots of long dead chestnuts. They're not really stump sprouts. They're well, it's hard to tell, but that's pretty great soil right there. Look at that high organic matter, duff. I don't think that's a taproot, but I think some of these are what you'd call a taproot coming down here from those trees. So we'll see how this guy does now. Here's something pretty interesting. I mean, you gotta, if you like being outside working with trees, like look at the shad bush right this time of year when you're digging them up. What a great tree. One of the most common woodland trees along roads. Most people don't know what it is, but it's a gorgeous, that happens to be a horticultural variety, so it's got more white, but it comes out before the cherries. So everything you see right now is a shad bush, and then next week what you see will be wild cherry. So here's what I wanted to mention. So I'm digging away, nice big earthworm. Most people would think, oh, that's a good sign, and it sort of is a good sign, but I think it's a fascinating fact that earthworms are an invasive species in North America. There were small worms that lived in the soil, but nothing that we consider a nightcrawler or even a common fishing worm. They were imported from Europe by the very earliest settlers, and I love the fact that one of the forest people I was working with in Shakerland over in Enfield, New Hampshire, said, well, we don't want any trees from your nursery unless they're bare root, because we don't want to introduce any earthworms to our upland forests. Contrary to popular opinion, trees in North America evolved without earthworms, and earthworms break down the organic matter faster than the trees evolve. So in other words, they reduce the amount of forest duff and organic matter on the top. And in a way, that's good for your garden, but American chestnuts were evolved to have more forest soils because of no earthworms. I just think that's a pretty fascinating fact. These are